EA Sports. It's in the game.
time flies when you're having fun, and that is what we have been enjoying in these past 6.5 weeks. Welcome to round 7 of this season 1 of Tier 1 in PFL. The circus heads to Imola, one of the most storied tracks in Formula 1 history, which is still present on the modern day calendar since its return in late 2020. We've raced there a further 2 times and have enjoyed some dramatic moments around the track in Emilia, Romagna. I am your commentator, Ben McCarthy, on this Friday evening. Thank you so very much for your company. Let's hope we can enjoy another fantastic edition of PFL. So then, it is once more a short qualifying session followed by a 50% sprint. So that will amount to 32 laps, as the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix is contested over 63 laps. But despite that, and despite the admittedly disappointing turnout, we still have so much excitement to invest in. Now, there are some noticeable absentees from this qualifying session, and there may be some drivers joining for the race. We certainly hope so. But the likes of Matt Zuvo, who still leads the championship, he is not in this session. But like I said, hopefully we will have some more drivers joining us. But it is a adorable day in Emilia-Romagna surrounding the Imola circuit. And this 18-minute qualifying session is underway. So then the drivers are heading out onto the track, remembering that whatever tyres these drivers set their quickest lap times in this qualifying session on, they are the exact tyres they will start the Grand Prix from as well. Now, let's just get the tyres up on our screens and let's have a look at the drivers out on track. Arborwood is actually not the lead car. It looks like it is Connor then in the Alfa Romeo. He will be the first driver to try himself around this track. On board with the Alfa Romeo, he has just 2 more corners to go. And he heads the start-finish straight, really hugging the edge of the track on the start-finish straight. But he opens DRS and his lap is underway, heading towards the Tamburello chicane, the much revised Tamburello chicane over the years. Of course, the horrific scenes in 1994, as well as accidents there in 1987, courtesy of Nelson Piquet, and in 1989, courtesy of Gerhard Berger. That part of the track has been transfigured for safety, and it certainly has aided Imola's reputation. This track has invested in so much tragedy throughout the years, but with this modern layout, they're still able to deliver some pulsating action. Connor has been on a ride of pulsating proportions so far, and he heads on towards Acqua Minerale, the 2 apex section of the track, lays down the throttle, and he's now going to head on towards the Variante Alta, turning right, then left. He's quickest through the first 2 sectors, but of course he is the first driver to tackle this track, and he now only has 2 more corners to go, the 2 Ravazzas. He flicks the Alfa Romeo in to both apexes. He can put down the power, and that is his lap completed, and it's completed with a 1:16.9. Let's see how his competitors respond. Moose now dives into the pits. Race Warrior is on an outlap. Hydrant is on a push lap, and let's ride on board with him then. We have yellow flags out through the first 2 sectors, and I think maybe Kawasa or Arba was ahead, who has brought out the yellow flags, but Hydrant continues on his lap. and he is quickest of anyone through the second sector so far. Having said that, there aren't that many drivers out on track, and Theo now has retired from the session. As Gupta goes to the top of the timesheets, but let's see what's... Oh, Theo there has found the wall off of the exit of the Tamburello chicane, and now Kawasa finds the wall as well. He has a damaged front wing, and that is going to set him back a little bit. He'll rejoin the track sheepishly. He'll head into the pits. But that's two drivers already affected by the might of Imola. Race Warrior is on a lap in his Ferrari, but runs wide through Aqua Minerale. Still keeps it within what the drivers expect of him, and he's found the rear thereof the best. The Red Bull has a 5-place grid penalty, but the prancing horse has been wounded at its home track. Grace Warrior is out of the session in a matter of moments. You see the Red Bull there just in front of the Ferrari, and Grace Warrior clipping the rear of the best. It didn't really seem like that big of an impact, but it was enough to seal the fate of Grace Warrior's qualifying session. Arborwood is now on a lap in his McLaren. We started with 10 drivers in this session. We started with 12 drivers in this session. We are now down to 10. It's going to be who can be the quickest of those 10. At the moment, it's Gupta as Arborwood gets too trigger happy on the throttle coming out of the Variante Elsa. That is going to harm his progress on this lap. It's not going to be troubling the times of Connor, Hydrant or Gupta. The best though in his Red Bull through the first sector sets a mighty first sector. He now heads off then into Piratella, keeps it within the track. We now have yellow flags out in sector 3, and that's because a Moose that's the best then goes off what the stewards expect of him in terms of track limits, and that is his lap wrecked. Okurre behind the best on track, going well through the middle sector. He goes through the chicane where Charles Leclerc famously crashed out of the podium places earlier this year in the Emilia Romanga Grand Prix. But Okurre now only has 2 more corners left. And we'll have to see what comes of this lap, but he understeers quite a little bit through the first Ravazza and then again through the second. So the end of this lap's a punishing one for Okurre, who's up into 4th, but out of all the representative lap times, he is the slowest of the bunch. The best is now on another lap in his Red Bull, and will hope to keep it within track limits this time. He's had a very wild qualifying session so far, clashing with Grace Warrior on his out lap, having an invalidated lap time last time out, but he is pushing on this lap and he's going to try and reap the rewards. Oh, I said a lot of understeer there for the Red Bull. Somehow his lap isn't invalidated, but Aqua Minerale is a true test of the Formula 1 car's front end, and the best really losing control of his car, then gaining it back somehow, some way. This is a show of immense skill from the best, keeping it on the island. But I don't think his lap time is going to be kind to those perceptible errors, and he may not be able to trouble the top 4 times yet. Gupta though on pole position, provisional pole position at the moment on a 1:14.9. Arborwood's had a problem in his McLaren as the best into 5th, but Arborwood, dumbest baskets out on track. Kawasa is on a lap. Let's see how he fares. Doesn't really carry a load of speed through the Villeneuve chicane, but takes a very precarious line there into Tosa. He has his teammates in front of him. He's going to last pass before Aqua Minerale. You can say he's just trying to explore the track at the moment and increase that lap time as the session goes on. Dumbest basket though in the Red Bull, 24.5 through the first sector. His teammate is in 5th at the moment. Dumbest Basket wants to displace him. To Aqua Minerali, Dumbest Basket going off the track. That's going to do him no favours whatsoever. That lap is destroyed. And Dumbest Basket, who I think it's fair to say qualifying has not been his expertise in Tier 1. He has qualified no higher than 7th place and has qualified there 3 times out of the 6 races so far. He currently lies 7th on the road. Like I said, it's not been a great season for him or Red Bull really, as now we have some yellow flags out, and Kawasa is now out of the session. Now Gupta behind the best on the track. The Red Bull has been AI'd, and that's going to frustrate Gupta, who was quickest of anyone through the first sector. Oh, and that's a Kerdre on his outlap. Digging his Alpine into the gravel, but is able to get it going once more. Hopefully, as he rejoins the track, he'll be out of harm's way. Yes, Connor is able to get past him. But a Kerdre there, that was a hair-raising moment. Moose then up into 5th in his Haas, displacing the best. Meanwhile, we have Dumbest Basket out on track at the moment with an invalidated lap time. So he's going to have to regroup and go again as the best now dives into the pits. He's going to brake suddenly just to get within that speed limit. Remember, he does have a 5-place grid penalty for that contact with Grace Warrior. But let's follow Hydrant's progress then on this lap. Gupta is on provisional pole on a 1:14.994. Hydrant is just over 3/10 behind him, but in the Williams, who have clinched 2 poles courtesy of Hydrant so far this season, can you make it 3? Can he make it 2 in a row? Well, he isn't going to be able to do that as he runs wide through the second part of the Villeneuve chicane, and you can see on the top right-hand side of the screen, he has suffered through the Villeneuve chicane enough for this lap time to really be blown away. Oh, yeah. A Kerdre, Gupta's teammate. It's a promising session so far for Alpine. Gupta fast as the Kerdre, though he's not improving through the first sector. He's 2 seconds behind his teammates, but he has 2 more sectors to reel that deficit in. Oh no, a Kerdre then goes for a spin off of the exit of Aqua Minerale. And this on a push lap was maybe a push too much. A Kerdre running in 4th, hasn't found the wall, hasn't wrecked his tyres, but has suffered damage to this latest attempt. As Dumbest Basket then, I was going to quickly cut to him, but he slots his Red Bull up into 3rd place. And that would be his best qualifying result of the season by quite a considerable amount. Now you can see Arborwood ahead of Dumbest Basket, now behind Dumbest Basket, because I think he was trying to slow down and let him through. But we have just over 5 minutes left of this session. There's still so much to be discovered. So then, we have numerous drivers on outlaps at the moment. One of them being Arborwood, another being Gupta, who's on provisional pole, and Connor is the 3rd driver out of that trio. Dumbest Basket will peel off into the pits. Like I said, he sits 3rd, which would be his best result of the season in terms of qualifying so far. Let's hope if he's able to solidify that place come the end of the session. Arborwood then on a lap in his McLaren. And qualifying, likewise for Arborwood, it just hasn't been his strength this season. He's qualified in the top 10 once, and that was around Zandvoort. But he does have a lot more race pace in him. But with the less amount of drivers in this session, in this event, on this particular Friday evening, Arborwood could be able to exercise his pace around this Imola circuit, thanks to the circumstances, but also through his speed. But he does run wide through Piratella, does get a heap of understeer, and that's going to set him back a little bit. He now tackles Aqua Minerale, puts down the throttle where numerous drivers have been caught out, but he's going to head on towards the Variante Alta. That's a promising middle sector there for the McLaren. Connor is also on a lap and is improving through the first sector. Gupta is now just going to cross the line for his middle sector, and he's improving by 3.5 tenths. Arborwood is going to come round the final corner to see what comes of his lap as a Curdray now retires from the session. But Arborwood is up into P4. Gupta is going to come round the final couple of corners. He was on pole 2 weeks ago around the streets of Baku, and it looks likely that he will start from pole position here at Imola. He is over 6 tenths, nearly 7 tenths ahead of Hydrant. He is opening the gates to Imola and the gates to supremacy. What a lap from Gupta. That is going to take some beating. But like I said, his teammates had crashed out through the exits of the Tamburello chicane where Connor is about to go through now. And that's 2 drivers in this session that have found the wall there. Connor through the first sector is improving by 2 tenths. Arborwood is not on a push lap. And, well, Gupta isn't. The best, though, in his Red Bull. He's about to start a lap, sitting 8th at the moment in his Red Bull. He's going to tackle the Tamburello chicane, goes very wide and wide again. That's going to hurt his line, that's going to hurt his speed. And hamper his qualifying outcome as well as he takes a load of curb once more. Arborwood then in his McLaren is now up into P3. Connor is going to come through the 2 Ravaxas to complete his lap with just over 1.5 minutes left. He puts down the power, he chases the line, he opens DRS. 5th, remains 5th despite a significant improvement. Now Dumbest Basket just slowing down. Looks like he was going to try and let Hydrant pass, but Hydrant, his lap time has been invalidated. Unless he's able to cross the line in time, is he going to be able to improve? Peasboard is now going to start a lap in his Haas. With DRS open and with a lap to chase, what can Keysboard achieve? Into the Tamburello chicane. Oh, he's carried a bit too much speed. He's missed the apex of the corner. And the lap has not started well for him. He then runs out wide onto the gravel. The lap is getting away from Keysboard, and it doesn't look like it is going to come to anything desirable. Connor now in his Alfa Romeo, finding the grass. That's going to compromise his lap time. Arborwood looks like he'll be able to start a lap soon, right before the checkered flag comes out. So too will Hydrant. But Dumbest Basket's in his Red Bull. Oh, that's a lot of curb he's taken. That's such commitment he's taken as well, but he's paid the ultimate consequences by running off the road, and he is retired from this session as a result. So then, Hydrant, what have you got? Nearly 7 tenths he has to catch up to Gupta, who has been imperious in this qualifying session. What response does the Williams have? Through the Villeneuve chicane, the car is just dancing on the rear. He improves through the first sector by a little bit, but that wasn't where the main deficit was. He's approaching the Haas of Moose. Hopefully he isn't able to be slowed down. Hopefully he isn't slowed down by that. Through Aqua Minerale, it's a staggering speed Hydrant is carrying through the corners of Imola. It is a joy to behold. He crosses the line for the middle sector, or he's slightly down on his best time. He then loses the rear slightly. That is his lap wrecked. And it seems like, yes, Gupta is on pole for the second time in PFL Tier 1. And it is with a staggering advantage of 0.676 seconds. And he is going to take some beating in this 32-lap race, regardless of the opposition and the amount of it. Gupta has risen to the challenge of Imola and has conquered it in this qualifying session. So then, there is your order for qualifying. Of course, the best will be demoted 5 places, and we'll start from the rear of the pack. Let's just quickly go through the order. Gupta, Hydrant, Arborwood, Dumbest Basket, Connor, Akurdre, Moose, the best, Theo, Kawasa, Keysboard, and Grace Warrior. So then, round 7 of this PFL season is soon going to be underway. The clock is ticking down, and this race start is imminent. Now, like I said, it's not been the best turnout for this race, but as Imola's delivered throughout the years and has proved throughout the years, sometimes when there aren't so many drivers like there was in 1982, you can still have amazing races. The formation lap is now underway. You can see dark skies overhead here at Imola. So Gupta on pole position. He looks to eat into the deficit he has to Matsuvo in this championship. His first race in the championship was Netherlands, which was round 4, sorry. So he always had some catch up to do, but he has risen to that challenge so far, and with 2 poles in the last 3 races, he looks to be a force in this season. And he has very much been a force around him at a pole position by 6 3/4 of a tenth. It shows his superb, scintillating, sensational speed. But it also shows the magnitude in which Matsuvo is going to have to respond when he does return. Of course, the AlphaTauri driver throughout this season, he didn't race last week, he isn't racing today, but we will sure welcome him with open arms when he does eventually return. But the focus is on these 12 drivers racing around Imola for the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix. For a track that has, quite frankly, seen it all, it has invested in triumph and the most ineffable tragedy. But we wish to celebrate the triumph of PFL, what has been of these last 6.5 weeks. We look to write another script, another chapter, and another monologue of pure mastery and pure sensation. The drivers are lining up on the grid. Ready to start this race. The best lines up at the rear of the field. And we have our 12 drivers in formation for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. We are racing at Imola. That's a great start there from Gupta, but Hydrant seems to get an even better start. He's going to take the fight to the Alpine on towards the Tamburello chicane. It looks like the Alpine, though, is going to keep him at arm's length. Arborwood perhaps down the inside. No, Connor's going to dance and dazzle around the outside. Great move there from the Alfa Romeo. He's leapt up into third. Ola Kerdre running right through the exit of the Tamburello chicane. He's going to perhaps drop down the order. Yes, he's been passed by Moose. The Haas sweeps on by but runs out wide. And there you can see that's a crash for Kawasa. Kawasa is out of the race. He lit up the tyres after running a tad wide through the Villeneuve chicane. His race is ended in a matter of corners. Dramatic start here at Imola, as per expected. But Gupta leads the pack ahead of Hydrant, who runs wide in his Williams. He's still able to hold second place for the moment. But it is Gupta from Hydrant. Connor in third, leaping up 2 places at the start. It was a sensational move on Arborwood. But it looks like the drivers are just gathering in formation now, but Grace Warriors really closing on Theo towards Ravazza. He's going to chance to move down the inside the Ferrari. The prancing horse is galloping towards Ravazza and seizes 8th place. Great move, great commitment from Grace Warrior, and we have a race on our hands. But the race has ended for Theo. Through the exit of the final corner, he has crashed out of this race, and in a matter of a lap, we're down to just 10 drivers. Hectic stuff at the start of this race, but it is still Gupta that leads the pack. Hydrant in second, ahead of Corner, then comes Arborwood, Kerdre, Dumbest Basket, Moose, Grace Warrior, the best, and Keys board in the Haas. But Theo and Kawasa are the early casualties from this race. The virtual safety car deployed, that will soon come in. Let's see when it does come in. I reckon we will be back underway in a matter of seconds. Lap 2 of 32 here at Imola for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. A hectic start in this race has seen Theo and Kawasa retire early, but with the 10 drivers we have left, we surely have a great race ahead of us, and we are back racing. Hydrant has really eaten into the deficit he had to Gupta. Could he have a chance? DRS will be introduced on the next lap. Is the Alpine under pressure? Could Hydrant seize his first win of PFL Tier 1? We'll have to see. Grace Warrior's got past Moose 2 laps in a row. He's got past the driver through Ravazza. The man is on fire at the moment in this race. He started from 11th after an early qualifying session retirement. But he is giving it all for Ferrari's home crown. The Tifosi are watching in the stands. And their partisanship is really impulsing Grace Warrior, who's up into 7th. Kerdre now has a time penalty for multiple off-track excursions in terms of track limits. Now Keysboard's really dropped behind the pack, and he's going to thunder into the wall. The Haas crashes out of proceedings here at Imola. The virtual safety car has been deployed once more, and that was a problem started really through turn 4, because he understeered through the exit of turn 4, and that spat him into the gravel, which then sends him into the wall. Down to 9, already down to 9. This is turning into a race of attrition. Kerdre, unfortunately, has now left the session. Hopefully that was just an internet connection problem, and he's able to resume running once more. But we are racing once more at Imola. That was quick, that was snappy, but lap 3 turns into lap 4, and Hydrant is within a second of Gupta. Wow, we have a frankly brilliant race ahead of us. DRS is enabled though for Grace Warrior, as Moose behind all the best, looking to make a place on Moose. They're going to rage on towards Tamburello. Is the best going to surge past? No, he isn't. But you can see Kerdre's AI is going to cost him as he tumbles down the order behind Dumbest Basket, eventually behind Grace Warrior, with Moose and the best also lurking in the distance. but looks like Akurdre has rejoined, thankfully. So he re-engages, and he admittedly, of course, down a couple of places since when he left the session, but he is able to make a race revive in this race. But with an exit like that, he is going to be under a bit of pressure from Grace Warrior. Having said that, he's a little too far behind to make an impression. But Gupta has enlarged his gap to Hydrant. That's well over a second. And he is cementing his dominance out in front. On board then with Akurdre in his Alpine. He's running behind Dumbest Basket. He should have DRS on Dumbest Basket, but Grace Warrior will have DRS on him. We saw with the Emilia Romanga Grand Prix earlier this year, there was a DRS train forming. Hopefully we will not fall victim of that kind of activity, but Akurdre trying to get past Dumbest Basket, but he was not close enough into the Tamburello chicane. Oh, Akurdre's gone for a spin. He touches the wall there. He tumbles down the order once more, but the limits are being tested, the limits are being found, and the limits are going over. Akurdre's teammate Gupta out in front is 2.5 seconds ahead of Hydrant, with Connor in third, still ahead of Harbourwood. Then comes Dumbest Basket, Grace Warrior, Moose the best, and of course Akurdre is the last of the runners so far. Now, is Grace Warrior going to be able to have DRS on Dumbest Basket? They're going to clear the detection point soon, and it's going to be close. I don't think he's within a second, so Dumbest Basket has an answer to whatever attack Grace Warrior is targeting at him. But out in front, Gupta is over 4 seconds clear of Hydrant. He is on a mission this race. He is looking to crash the opposition here at Imola. He has introduced speed at the most sensational level since his introduction. A few weeks ago, Connor almost lost the car and almost saw the end of his race, but he kept it on the track, but just about. Lap 6 of 32 here at Imola. Akurdre then dives into the pits. After spinning on those soft compound tyres, he looks to get rid of those soft compound tyres and put behind him the misfortune of these first 6 laps. He wants to reignite, he wants to recharge. And charging through the pack is his mission now. Our eyes are cast upon this battle between Dumbest Basket and Grace Warrior, but the Ferrari just isn't able to break within DRS of Dumbest Basket. The Ferrari, it must be noted, does have a 3-second time penalty for track limits. But going into Ravazza, is the Ferrari close enough? He really struggles through the slow and medium speed corners of the second and third sector. That means he isn't able to trouble the Red Bull. And down the start-finish straight, no, Grace Warrior just isn't close enough. But Harbourwood is closing in on Connor. He's reeling the Alfa Romeo in after being passed by the Alfa Romeo on the first lap of the race. He looks to take the place back, but he's going to be able to do that as Connor now finds the wall, sees the end of his race. And it is proving a problem for the drivers through the exit of the Tamburello chicane. It is proving a real problem indeed. That's at least 3 drivers falling victim this event so far of this part of the tarmac, of this part of Imola. The safety car has been deployed. We have only 8 drivers left in this session. It is an almighty race of attrition, but it does mean the pack will be stacked up amongst one another once more, and this safety car restart is going to be a very interesting one. Surely the likes of Gupta, Hydrant, Harbourwood are going to take a chance to pit, to get rid of those soft compound tyres and have a cheap pit stop to either pit the mediums, most likely committing them to a 2-stop, or the hard tyres. But 25 laps left, it would be a stretch to go onto the hard compound tyres. Gupta dives into the pits. Hydrant is going to follow suit. So too does Harbourwood. Dumbest Basket. Okay then. Probably the ideal time must be said. So, technical difficulties have kicked in, which is a bit of an irritation, it must be said. But we will be back to the action, hopefully in a matter of moments. It will be interesting to see, because it looks like Grace Warrior is going to find the wall at the pit entry, but of course that was my internet connection causing a bit of havoc there. But we will resume action at Imola, and under the safety car we still have 3/4 of this race to invest in utter drama. I'll just go for a quick second to have a quick break, but when we return, this race will certainly be back underway. So then, we are under the safety car here at Imola on lap 9 of 32. Connor has become the latest retirement in this race, and that's a real shame. He was running in the podium places, but his race is going to end with only 2 points. Of course, non-finishers in the top 10 will score points. That gives Arbwood P3, and it seems like, yeah, the top 4 drivers have now maintained position in terms of where they started this race from. But this is interesting. Got the lead driver on track. He's on the mediums. Hydrant and Arbwood behind. They're on the softs. Dumbest Basket is on the hards. The definition of variety. It is going to bring riveting action here at Imola. I frankly cannot wait for this safety car restart. Hopefully it comes in at the end of this lap. We will have to see. But Gupta may be under pressure from Hydrant. Those medium compound tyres are going to take a little longer to really kick in and to find the true grip compared to those of the softs. And with a long start-finish straight, Hydrant may have his chance. Williams is sticking with Gupta. Gupta generating temperature into his tyres, and it looks like... Oh no, I thought he was going to get us back underway here at Imola, but he's going to have to be so precise at this safety car restart. Nix looks like he's done just that. We're back underway here at Imola. Gupta already has 3/4 of a second advantage over Hydrant, with Arbwood in third, Dumbest Basket fourth, but Grace Warrior's taking the fight to him. On towards the Town Roller chicane. The Ferrari is hunting for the inside line. Is he able to take fourth place? They're running side by side. A bit of contact between the pair of them, and it looks like the best has slipped out of contention. He's spun through the chicane. Grace Warrior has fourth on Dumbest Basket. Is he able to maintain that? They're going side by side through the Villeneuve chicane. The Ferrari just about has the upper hand for the moment. Moose now tries to get past Dumbest Basket. But Grace Warrior has had a fantastic revive in this race. He started so low down, outside the top 10, but he's up into fourth. What a race it has been from him so far. This is the battle for the lead. Hydrant is utilising the softness of those soft compound tyres compared to Gupta's mediums. He is reeling the Alpine in. This could be a change for the lead. So it looks like Kurdra's gone for yet another spin. He's down into 8, and this miserable race for the Alpine gets that much worse. Hydrant's going to be about half a second behind Gupta as they cross the start-finish line. Dumbest Basket is going to be just north of half a second behind Moose as they cross the line. But Hydrant's quickest of anyone on this lap. But Grace Warrior spins through the final corner. That's dealt him a major blow in this race. Hydrant, though, is chasing Gupta into the first chicane. He isn't able to make the move, but this is the battle for the lead, and we're loving every second of it. That's a real shame for Grace Warrior. He was running in 4th. And a part of the race that looks so promising for him has yielded so little. And Hydrant's now the latest driver to go off the road through the Villeneuve chicane. And the same can be said of him. This race promised so much, but it's now just given him so very little. He spins once more as he drops further down the pack. He's down into 6th. You'd think, yeah, now he's down into 7th. He may be down into 8th. But Gupta's competitors who were running 2nd and 4th have just fallen, and fallen badly at the most unbelievable of hurdles, and Moose has now encountered a hurdle. He's now spun as well. The best has also spun. This is utterly mad here at Imola. 4 drivers have spun in the space of a lap. The Kurdray going side by side with the Red Bull of the best. The Red Bull just about holding position with DRS enabled. Gupta, who is under fierce pressure from Hydrants, is now 2.5 seconds clear. This is mad. Moose comes into the pits to change his tyres, but Kurdray no, he doesn't have DRS on the best. But with the toe, is he able to make a challenge into the first chicane? No, he isn't. The best is just about enough ahead to not be troubled. But through the exit, the Alpine is getting ever closer. The battle is intensifying, but the Red Bull has the upper hand at the moment and runs wide. The Alpine's been given the initiative, and he takes the initiative to promote himself up into 4th. A mistake there from the Red Bull has demoted him down into P5. But he is on the softer compound tyres, and he does have promising race pace. So Kurdray has not just won this battle definitely yet, but the initiative has been given to him. But the best now running off track and running off track again. He's going to be further out of sync with the Alpine, who looks to cement and solidify that 4th place. You can see the Red Bull hopping over the chicane there, hopping over this curb. He's earned himself a time penalty. But if you ever needed the definition of what attrition looks like, you have your definition on your screens. We have just invested in some of the most manic laps ever seen in PFL. Now it seems like Arbwood has gone off the track a little bit. He's found the gravel. He drops to now nearly 7 seconds behind Gupta, who is just exuding dominance around Imola. This Emilia Romanga Grand Prix is one that Gupta has frankly just been serene. He's been sensational. He's been superb. He's not been under any pressure whatsoever. The best now finding the gravel trap once more through the Villeneuve chicane. He's down into 6th. Having said that, Moose and Grace Warrior too far behind to even make him think about possible further consequences. You join us on lap 14 of 32 here at Imola. It's a race that Gupta has just been in another league, and his closest competitor early on in the race was Hydrant, but he was one of the few drivers who, at a specific point in the race, went for a spin or found the gravel traps off-road and tumbled down the order. Arbwood is Gupta's closest challenger at the moment, but he is 7.5 seconds behind. Dumbest Basket, though, could be a factor in the race. He's within Gupta's pit stop window, and it is likely that the Alpine will have to pit again. So do not rule out Thomas Basket from race contention. He hasn't scored a podium so far this season. His best result was P5 around Canada. But so far, Thomas Basket is running a very solid race. Grace Warrior is closing in on Moose. That is the battle for, well, the final positions of the current runners in this race. We have lost four drivers in the first 14 laps. We have 8 drivers remaining, but certainly in Grace Warrior Moose's case, they're trying to give us a battle and trying to give us some action here at Imola. Now we have yellow flags through Sector 2 and Sector 3, and that's because the best has lost his front wing. He will have to pay a visit to the pits. And again, another driver falling foul of Emilia's punishing nature. He's going to see Moose and Grace Warrior surge on by. And here is Moose and Grace Warrior, but the Ferrari gets a little bit light on the rear through the chicane, through the Variante Alta. But he is closing in on that Haas, definitely. Unequivocally, all the best is now out of the session, and he may have just crashed at pit entry. Wow. Just wow. We're down to 7. 7 drivers. We've almost seen half our competitors eliminated in the first few laps of this race. But Grace Warrior down the inside of Moose sees his 6th place, but he finds the gravel. He's going to have to concede the place to the Haas. And 7th place is one that he still holds, but Arbwood, who just drops behind Thomas Basket, now drops out of the podium places. Hydrant goes past. Arbwood's down to 5th. And Gupta's advantage out in front gets, well, ever larger. Yellow flags are out in Sector 3, but as Arbwood gets going again, his AI now takes over. He's left the session. And Gupta's advantage out in front is accentuated. He is running the race of dreams so far. Back to the battle between Moose and Grace Warrior. Round 1 was won by the Haas. But Grace Warrior wants to at least change the outlook of this battle, and he's going to be given a chance down the start. Finish straight to all the Haas. Running a little bit wide, suffering a bit of understeer through the second Ravazza. The Ferrari's going to have DRS. He's just over 4/10 behind the Haas as he crosses the start-finish line. He has DRS on the Haas. Is he able to make an impression on towards the Tamburello chicane? Again, he seizes the inside line. Is he able to solidify his place in 6th place? At long last, he is. Grace Warrior then in his Ferrari's up into 6th as a Kurzray once more goes for a spin. Hydrant is back up into the podium places. But Kurzray, like many drivers, has endured so much problems and misfortunes in this race. And while his teammate is serene out in front, his place in the podium places has just evaporated. So then, Thomas Basket, 18 seconds behind Gupta. He runs in 2nd place out of 7. He does go wide through the Villeneuve chicane. But on those hards, could he still be a factor in this race? We will have to see. Hydrant 3rd ahead of a Kurzray. Arbwood 5th. Then Grace Warrior, then Moose. Must be said, Moose will nearly be lapped by Gupta. He's about 2/3 of the lap, more than that, behind the Alpine. We're over half distance here at Imola. It's still Gupta that leads the race. He took his inaugural victory in Tier 1 last week around the Temple of Speed. And as PFL prolongs its tour in Italy, Gupta is still the master of this country. on board with Hydrant, and his recovery in this race has been one of promise, but is still going to yield that of disappointment. He was running in seconds, he was running within fractions of Gupta, but that venture off-road through the Villeneuve chicane dealt him a hammer blow. At the moment, he runs in third in his Williams, nearly 8 seconds ahead of Ecurdre, with Arbwood still disconnected in fifth. He may have participated all that he will do in this race. Grace Warrior sixth. Again, he was running in the top 4 at points in this race. He's going to be engulfed in misery if that is to be his race finishing position. Moose is 7th, and the fields are relatively equidistant to one another. Gupta is around a pit stop, just shy of the pit stop ahead of Damas Basket. It is only a matter of time before he's able to make that pit stop and still emerge ahead of the Red Bull. Hydrant, though, is still closing in on Damas Basket. The battle for second is getting closer, lap after lap. It must be said, the clouds overhead are getting gloomier, they are getting darker. Could Mother Nature have a say in the outcome of this race? We will have to see. Another barrier for the drivers to overcome may just be realised in the final few stages of this race. We'll have to see, but Gupta 23 seconds out in front, Hydrant 6 seconds behind Damas Basket. Hydrant, of course, third. Every single metre, Hydrant is closing in on Damas Basket. Hydrant will most certainly have to pit again, but even on slightly worn soft tyres, the battle for second is being presented to us, and this is going to be a very interesting battle indeed. So then, less than 5 seconds separates Damas Basket and Hydrant. But the Williams then dives into the pits to get rid of those soft compound tyres, and I think he could probably put on another set of those softs. Having said that, he started the race on the softs, so it is going to be a switch to the mediums for Hydrant for what he hopes will be the final pit stop of his race, and to emerge back onto the track in almost probably be 4th place. He won't be under pressure from Arbwood, who himself comes into the pits. Grace Warrior, he's too far behind Hydrant. So the Williams back out onto the track and has 16 seconds to catch up to Ecurdre. Alpine running 1st and 3rd here at Imola. And wow, what a race it has been for them so far. What a race it has been for Gupta, who's 26 seconds ahead of Damas Basket now. And it's just been a frankly peerless drive. So then, if you have joined us for this PFL Tier 1 race, round 7 of 10 here in PFL Tier 1 Season 1, you have been presented with an almighty tour de force from Gupta, who is nearly half a minute ahead of Damas Basket. Ecurdre runs in 3rd for Alpine. Damas Basket is the meat in Alpine sandwich. Well, they're French, so it's really a baguette, but Hydrant, having made his pit stop, has dropped down into 4th, but is closing in on Ecurdre. It's going to be a very tough task and a very tall order for Ecurdre to get to the end of the race on those medium tyres. But could there be one final twist to clouds overhead are gathering. They're getting gloomier. Could they have a say, an irrevocable say, in the outcome of this race? We started with 12. We are left with 7 in this race. What is left? What is left of this race? We have 10.5 laps left of this race. Well, for Gupta at least, who is on his way for consecutive wins in PFL Tier 1. And Matsuvo's championship lead will be coming down with Gupta really not necessarily hot on his heels at the moment, but getting closer and presenting himself as a real threat and as a title contender. See their dumbest baskets in P2, and Gupta could probably pit in the next lap or two. He'll be comfortably ahead of dumbest baskets. Now Grace Warrior in his Ferrari comes into the pits to get rid of one set of softs and to put another on. Oh, Gupta's now left the session. Wow, has the twist been written? Gupta leaving the session, all right, it probably isn't going to cost him half a minute. But with that, could dumbest basket close in? Could the Kerdre close in? Could Hydra close in? The twist has been written. But how much of a twist is it going to pose to Gupta? He's still half a minute out in front. But that gap is coming down. He has joined the session, so he will be back in his car soon. A Kerdre now comes into the pit, so he will relinquish third place. It's a matter of when Gupta re-emerges into this race, into his car. If he can do it soon enough, he's obviously going to be at an advantage, but the gap is still coming down. He has joined the session, but he'll desperately want to resume action in his car. This is a major scare for the Alpine, who's braking so much earlier courtesy of his AI. Oh no, he is back into this session then. So, thankfully for Gupta, and quite frankly, thankfully, if you really do appreciate what Gupta has accomplished in this event so far, he has re-emerged in this race. But Kerdre back out on track onto the soft compound tyres, and he will want to battle back up the order into the podium places. 9 laps left here at Imola. Hasn't been PFL's finest race, but it still provided intrigue, most notably at the start of this race, within the first 10 laps. You can never really accept logic and rationale in PFL. Surely, most surely, there are moments, unbelievable moments to be had. But dumbest basket, he was able to close in on Gupta, but only by about 6, 7, 8 seconds in the end, and with Gupta formerly having a lead at half a minute, he will look to just re-emerge himself as in control in this race to quell the worries and to set about regaining his dominance. I would expect him to come into the pits very shortly. Indeed, he comes into the pits now. And with him losing connection and dropping out of the lobby, that may just mean that dumbest basket gets past him, but we will have to see. Off go the medium tyres, on go the softs, which is to be expected. But he comes out of his pit box, and it is a very, very, very long pit lane here at Imola. Where is he going to come out? It's going to be quite tight, actually, with dumbest basket. He'll able to get rid of the pit limiter now. This is going to be so close between the Alpine and the Red Bull. But dumbest basket, is he able to promote himself up into the lead? They're going to go side by side into Tamburello. The Red Bull has the lead, but only just for the moment as yellow flags are out in sector 1. That's because Moose has now gone for a spin. But Gupta then, who lost connection just a couple of laps ago, that really is why dumbest basket is in the lead. We still have yellow flags out on track as Moose looks to get back up and running in this race. But Gupta, well, That may have been a little bit unexpected for him. It was so tight with the Red Bull. But Dumbest Basket for the moment leads this race, and the hopes of Gupta achieving a Grand Chelem here at Imola may be dealt to blow. But if he's able to get past Dumbest Basket before the start-finish line, he may be able to salvage that very Grand Chelem, but he almost gives the Red Bull a tap. I think he's been able to escape damage, but he's going to close in on Dumbest Basket. He looks to the outside, he then looks to the inside as well. Is he going to chance to move down the inside into Ravazza? Late on the brakes is the Alpine, and the lead is once more his. The first real moment of side-by-side action for the lead of the race is one seized by Gupta, and he will set about building up a monstrous gap once more. Race Warrior now closing in on Moose for a battle for P5. So then, Race Warrior closing in on Moose. Gupta is checked out in front. 2.5 seconds is the advantage he has for Dumbest Basket. And with 7 laps left, he looks like he'll be able to take victory. Race Warrior's already made a pass into Ravazza. Is he able to do it once more? He's going to go side by side with the Haas, who is almost showing the door. They're still going side by side, but the Haas forced out wide. And at the very last moment, he has to concede the position. The Ferrari will have DRS down the start-finish straight. He's already ahead of Moose. The Haas drops down to P6 as Race Warrior in his team's home race is up into the top 5. Gupta then sets the fastest lap of the race in a 1:15.9, utilising those fresh, young, soft compound tyres. But for Dumbest Basket, he still occupies second place, and that would be a very handsome result for him and Red Bull, who have had a season on the contrary to how their 2021 Formula 1 campaign went. Of course, winning the World Championship with Max Verstappen, but they aren't going to be enduring that same success this season in PFL. But a podium around Imola would be a very, very strong showing. Race Warrior now has a time penalty, yet another one for track limit violations. He currently is in 5th and is quite a long way clear of Moose. Here once more is your race leader. You've run out of superlatives to describe what Gupta has delivered. He won the Tier 3 race on Wednesday. 2 days later, he's put in an even more emphatic performance on show. Imola has been his stage 2 supremacy so far this week, and he has been a force to be reckoned with. 5 laps left here at Imola, and 5 laps for Gupta to chase a fantastic race victory. Seems like the drivers are just keeping it calm out on track, not doing anything too silly, just bringing it home, getting the points for themselves and their teams as this race creeps towards its conclusion. Harbourwood's AI is about to be lapped by Hydrant. But Hydrant isn't really closing in on Dumbest Basket enough to trouble the Red Bull for second place. So at the moment it is Gupta from Dumbest Basket, Hydrant 3rd, Kurdrae 4th, Race Warrior 5th, Moose 6th and Harbourwood 7th. Grace Warrior running wide there through Aqua Minerale. He's earned himself yet another penalty. It may lose him a position to Moose, but nothing too significant. But you can see Gupta here, he's almost lapping Moose. And as I say that, he sets the fastest middle sector of anyone in this race. As those soft tyres get older, Gupta is still getting quicker. 13 seconds is the advantage he has to Dumbest Basket. Hydrant's 14 seconds behind Dumbest Basket. The Kerdre is 11.5 seconds behind Hydrant. And it's a 1-2-3-4 formation for those four, which may just see through to the checkered flag. 3 laps left then of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Gupta has just been in supreme form ever since qualifying started. He simply has been in the groove, and no one has been able to lay a glove on him so far. Must be noted as well that he does drive with a controller, not a wheel, which is quite fiendishly difficult, particularly around a track like Imola, which requires so much on the front end. But Gupta has just been in the rhythm from lap 1 to lap 30. And he looks to see out this race with an emphatic victory. Yeah, Moose ought to be careful, otherwise he may not see lap 32. Having said that, he only has a couple of laps left. But Grace Warrior now comes into the pits. He will look to take the fastest lap of the race. He will be lapped by Gupta. He will relinquish the position to Moose, but to him the fastest lap is more important. Interested to see where he comes. Well, actually, no, it isn't, because Arborwood, of course, is not in this session. He'll be so far off Moose. It looks like the Haas will ease towards the P5 finish with the Kerdre P4, Hydrant P3, and Dumbest Basket P2. 16 seconds at the moment behind Gupta. Yellow flags out in Sector 1. Grace Warrior seems to perhaps has a problem. His car is now ghosted. But he's a lap down already. It looks like he's going to be on for a P6 finish. And it has been an improvement of 5 places for Grace Warrior, who of course crashed out early in qualifying after contact with the best. But in a race of attrition like this one, it still may yield a feeling of disappointment. He was one of many drivers to find the off-road, find the escape road through the corners of Imola. But here comes Gupta on his final tour of the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Seconds is the advantage he has to Dumbest Basket. He may be looking for the fastest lap on his undercut lap of the race. It looks like Grace Warrior is going to be able to get ahead of Moose then. So Grace Warrior actually triggering the undercut and is able to take back that P5. But all eyes turn to Gupta. He has been in the most imperious form around Imola. This track, this Imola stage has been a source of inspiration, annihilation of the opposition, and through every single corner of every single lap, each and every one of these 32 laps, you have felt the peerless presence of Gupta illuminate your screens. Imola bows before Gupta's brilliance, and it has been brilliance of the highest order, ineffable brilliance around Imola. And as he comes round the final corner and as he sees the checkered flag, this has been a stage of true mastery to Gupta's brilliance. He sees the checkered flag, he wins in Tier 1 once more, and he tells Matsubo in this championship battle, do not try to run, I can keep up with you. Fantastic drive from Gupta, the most dominant win we have seen all season. Thomas Basketball now crossed the line for his best result of the season. It's his first podium finish in Tier 1 this season. He comes home for P2 ahead of Hydrant, who after starting second and dropping down the order after running off-road through the Villeneuve chicane, it may not be the worst result in the world. He comes home third ahead of Akerdre, who rounds out a very strong day for Alpine. And that is it. Gupta is your race winner around Imola with a race of true inspiration. So there you have it, Gupta raising his winner's trophy aloft and spraying the champagne. What a day it's been for him, what a day it's been for Alpine. And you may have seen one of the most dominant wins you will ever see in PFL. A spectacular race from Gupta, who eats into his deficit to Matsuvo in the championship. And there is your finishing order. Gupta is your winner, 20.5 seconds ahead of Dumbest Basket. Hydrant third for Williams, Akerdre fourth, Moose sixth, Grace Warrior sixth. Moose fifth, Grace Warrior sixth, Arborwood seventh, and your retirements from this race: the best, Connor, Keys Bors, Theo, and Kawasa. So then, that is it for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. Imola has been Gupta's stage to benevolence, brilliance, and blistering pace. And make sure you return to the PFL stage when we race in the other tiers, in Tier 2, Tier 4, and Tier 5 for the remainder of this weekend. Make sure you do not miss a thing. And make sure, at least in terms of PFL Tier 1, you return next week. So then, thank you so very much for your company, one and all. What a race that was for Gupta. And yeah, that may be the image of the race, Gupta's utter brilliance. But make sure you return to PFL next time, when we will be back for more blistering action.